Hi everyone, welcome to another Learn, Grow, Invest meeting. Hope everybody's doing well today. It's good to be here another week. So if it's your first time checking us out on Fridays, I do a brief stock market review. Just talk about some of the things that has happened in the week, some of the things that kind of stood out to me, and just kind of give you some insight into what we've been talking about in our community groups, because we'll talk about the markets every day, all day, different forms of investing, different conversations relating to investing, etc. So this is my first, reminder that you can join us on Telegram at any point. The link is in the description of this video. So you'd have joined us specifically to see the topic in the description, which is relating to Carib Cement. So I'm going to get to that in just a sec. But let me just roll the intro. All right, so let me jump right into this. Let me share my screen. All right, so you might have been wondering what's happening with Carib Cement. So I just wanted to talk about, just kind of give a little history. So let me actually go to, let's looking at proven for a little bit. Let me go to Carib Cement first. All right, so this is Carib Cement. So year to date, not year to date. So what would have seen last year is that it was having quite a bit, it was kind of gaining some momentum, right? So a year ago, let's see, it was about $60, right? And then close to April would have bumped up to the 80s. Then what we saw around the summer, it went up all the way to 112 here. But if actually you check the candlestick chart, there was one day I remember trading specifically, see showing here, went as high as 146. I remember that day specifically, right? So everybody thought, all is well. It's, companies growing, shareholders would have been excited. We had, dividend committee being formed, all of that, good stuff that prospective shareholders would like to see. And then right around November, what we saw was a notice coming out, speaking about, royalties that would have been owed to CEMEX. That's the parent company for Carib Cement. And there was some shareholders who weren't very keen on that prospect of the royalties being charged. There was a discussion of it being in the range between 2 to 4%. And what we saw recently, so let me not jump the gun. That would have explained what we saw here, going all the way down to about the 70s, right? So I think it went, let's go to November 19th, because I wanted to see just how far it went, right? So November 19th, we're seeing low of $69. I believe that's the lowest price it has gone to. When we check year to date, I think the lowest it's about $58, right? But that's not, $58 here. But right around that time, where it was gaining some momentum and sold down, I think the lowest price was $69, right? So of course, some shareholders were like, what's happening? Those of us who are on social media kind of saw it playing out. I won't call any names or anything like that here. That's not our style. But certain persons were making their feelings known about this, royalty payments, what it means for the company, and so on. So there was a particular shareholder who was selling down and made it known publicly. And so we kind of saw that, right? So from here, not much was happening. So it would have been in the range in the 70s for a little while. What's been happening? Let me look at the last month. So from the last month, you'd have seen it as low as $69.50. And then so it started to gain some momentum this week. So if you look at year to date, since the start of this year, right around 18%. And so before I go any further, one of the things I like to say to our or community members, if ever you should see a stock having a huge sell-off for whatever reason, right? The reasons will vary. So of course, this doesn't apply to every single stock. But what I like to do is when I see stocks being sold off, you want to look if there's potentially, opportunities. If there's an overreaction, you want to see if there's an opportunity for any short-term profit. Even if the reaction is justified, it could be that there may be, just some, there may be some opportunities there. Let me say it that way. So of course, context is important. The reason for the sell-off would be important. So you want to take those things into detail. But I've been keeping an eye on Carib Cement since what happened in November. And I said it's just a matter of time before this will start to make its way back up. So that's kind of what we're seeing now. Let me share with you the news that was announced. Was that today? Which one was released today? I want to find it. Not today, actually. So you see, I should have done this update a few weeks back. So it was from January. I actually saw R.JR share it on Twitter, and then I thought I'd share it up here, but I just couldn't find the right time to do an update, right? So what we see here is that the agreements in that same royalty conversation, what has been discussed for the year 2022 is 2%. Now it's not the max 4% that were in discussions, but 2%. And so the discussion now then becomes, okay, if it's 2%, what sort of impact will that have on the bottom line? That's what shareholders would be interested in understanding. And so that's what you want to be considering as a shareholder, whether or not that's going to, what sort of performance you think that they're gonna have based on that, right? For everything else, there's been no new update on the dividend policy. So the committee would have been formed, or the notice of the committee being formed was mentioned here in August, but we have heard nothing else about dividends to this point. So nothing new to report there. All right. Let me stop sharing for a second because I'm going to log into another platform to get a little bit more details. Actually, I've been doing this on Fridays for you to see, the trading activity for the day. I know some persons like to see that. All right, so just a moment. I hope everybody is doing well, by the way. All right, so let me share my screen again. All right, so we're looking at Moneyline now, right? So this is what would have been seeing. Let me do a month, right? So you'd have seen this was from January. Now the largest volume that we would have seen traded would have been about a week ago, 135,000 units, which would have been the largest one before then for this year would have been 76. So that's almost double the volume that would have been traded on that day. And so I definitely want to see what the next few weeks would look like. Their report is due at the end of this month, I think the start of next month. So if the volumes are increasing leading up to that day, it could mean that investors are bullish on what that report would be saying. And we saw the volume for today being 71,000 units, and it went to a high of $85. So that's definitely a good sign for those who would have been waiting for somewhat of a recovery. And these are the trades that would have taken place today. So nothing, the largest trade here would be 8,700 units at $84. The rest are, well, there's one here for 8,800. So for me, that's not necessarily, a mind-blowing amount. I'd want to maybe say a little bit more, but it's definitely something that is now it's starting to maybe get the interest of some investors again. So it's a little bit just be good to see over the next few days. Yeah, so volumes like in the millions, I'd be looking out to see 500,000 there, 1 million there, etc. So I mean, this was around the time that I would have mentioned that it made that major dip for the day. So yeah, that's it with Carib Cement for now. So definitely one that is on my personal watch list to see how the next few weeks will go. I agree, Orville. I think it's a sign of things to come. And let me see, what else are we going to talk about today? So this has been an interesting week. We've had a lot of interesting discussions in the group. So let us look at FESCO, right? So this is how FESCO ended today. Closing price would have been 480. What we saw this week, let's look at the last month. And so we're actually talking about this in the group earlier. And I gave the group some homework to look into. Well, I won't share the homework here. If you want to know what we spoke about, join us on Telegram. But what we saw with FESCO were just the volumes kind of picking up over the last couple of weeks, and would have seen this week where it went to an all-time high of 520. I believe that was Wednesday of this week. Let me actually check over here. If I'm not mistaken, 520 would have been the highest. Yes, 520. So, you know, persons would have been very happy, especially if you're holding from IPO, to take some profits at 520. Right? And you see year to date is up 72%. That's just, you know, amazing. Nothing else to say about it. But 4 million in volume today. We saw as much as 7 million yesterday, 3 million the day before, 2 million, etc. So it's picking up for this week. I think they just released their 9-month report. So, I mean, in another 3 months, we'll see what they look like for the full year. That's one of the things that I'm anxiously waiting to see. I think there's definitely room for FESCO to keep growing. It's not financial advice, of course. And so, I mean, if you're interested in the company, you want to go and speak to a licensed financial advisor. And but this is definitely one that was on our stocks to watch list when we did a session in January. If you haven't seen that video yet, go and check it out. But let's see what the news have been saying lately about them. All right, Director would have sold 2.5 million units. This is the report that I would have mentioned that came out the other day. This is not a stock review session, so I don't want to look at any statements right now. We'll have the next stock review coming up. So this would have been the 30 million units that we're seeing right here. That makes sense. And so, as I said, I like to look at this to see kind of what sort of activity is happening, you know, how the directors are buying and selling, just to understand if there's anything that's, you know, interesting that might be noted there, maybe any of the top 10, you know, shareholders selling or anything like that. I mean, it's natural to buy and sell, but you want to look at it is just worth noting, I think, sometimes, depending on the situation, of course. Some activities may not move the needle, but if then the market thinks that there is something interesting, you may see more activity. All right. So I believe in 3 months we'll see the annual report being released. So I would definitely want to do a stock review when that comes out. So stay tuned for that one. And I think that's it for FESCO. We spoke about them last week, so check out that video. I think the one that everybody's been waiting for me to speak about, that is Massey. Now, we speak about this almost every day in our Telegram group. And I think it's just been very interesting. So we saw for opening day, well, not opening day, the day following opening day, after the cross listing, not really, I don't want to use the word opening day after it cross listed, we saw it being traded for as high as 3,200. But since then, as you see this chart, it's been kind of steadily declining. And, you know, it would have rested, I think, gone as low as $1,900. Let's see here. Yep, $1,900. And then what we saw today was activity going as high as 2,200. So I know some of the community members were excited to see that. So it's interesting, the volume that was shown here, 67,000 units. That's the most volume we've seen since it's cross-listed. So again, we want to watch and see how it performs next week. I would have said that last week, that for me, I'm looking to see how it is performing leading up to the split date of March 11th. So I'm personally expecting to see more activity going into next week, week after, etc. As to where the price will go, nobody knows. It depends on what the buyers and sellers agree to. Their financials came out this week. So if you're a shareholder, you want to check that out. Why am I not seeing the statement here? Can somebody share that with me from the Telegram group, please? And I'll just post the link in the description. Or was it their annual report? Okay. All right. So I know that came out though, because I saw, I think Stocks on the Rocks shared it, Money Mac shared it. So I'm sure it's out. Maybe it's on the Trinidad Stock Exchange website. So I'll find it and put the link in the description for you. But as I said, 1,900 is the lowest that we've seen since cross-listing, and 3,200. So it has decreased since cross-listing, but with the upcoming split, I'm expecting some activity, and who knows, for those who are patiently waiting, may or may not be happy. That's the most I can say, but you want to look and see how the next few weeks shape up. All right. Which other companies I wanted to talk about this week? I wanted to talk about Fontana. So we're waiting on Fontana's report, has not been released yet. I believe that's one of the last few ones I'm waiting for. We saw Fontana go as high as, let's see, $12.49 this week. Very, very happy to see. Full disclosure, I am a Fontana shareholder. So I was very happy to see that, especially since I've been watching it for a while. So we would have seen that this week, and what I'm anticipating here, well, let's see. So we saw large volume here on the 14th of January, 12 million units. Let's see the last month. Not really much activity there. So the day when it got to its highest, let me see when that day was. That was February 4th. Not much volume on that day, 404,000 units. So what I'm thinking is that if their report is impressive, then you may see more volume being traded. You may see some potential movement there in terms of activity. And I think persons were kind of anxiously anticipating the report. And so I think when that comes out, let me see, I think David shared with me this listing. Let's see when Fontana's report is due. It's actually due now. So you should be seeing it any day now. If anything, it might have been released like already for today, and maybe I missed it. So look out for that. If it does come out, I'll certainly cover it. Well, can I cover it? I don't know. I'll cover it in some way, shape, or form. Maybe I do a midweek review or something, but I think this is definitely one of them I'm watching very, very closely. And the anticipation is that their last quarter would have been their best. And so, yeah, expecting good things from Fontana. Is there any other stocks that you guys wanted me to look at? I think that is it. Right before I came on, David would have shared a dividend announcement for Proven. So that's what I have here. They did a dividend announcement of 0.0041 US. So for Jamaican, that would be 64 cents per share. I think that's very, very interesting to see. I think David was saying it's their largest announcement to date, which is good. All right, Arville. So I'll check out RJR next. All right, so this dividend will be paid on March 9th for shareholders on record as at February 24th. If you don't understand what that means, we did a full dividend guide video last month. Just search the channel for that. So if you're interested in receiving this dividend, then you need to be a shareholder. At least if you're purchasing, then you need to purchase at least 2 days before so that it can settle, and you will be on record as at February 24th. And yeah. All right. So hopefully I said that right. Or is it 2 days before the 21st? I always get confused with these dates. Let me actually bring up that information here. I think we did it in our newsletter. I didn't cover it in this. Okay, I was hoping that I did. Okay. I think I have that information on hand. I'll find it. All right. So I see one. Kimani, I'm not ready to talk about Mailpack. I'll talk about Mailpack next week. All right, let's look at RJR before I go back to confirming that dividend information. All right, so RJR last 6 months. I know there was a lot of interest in RJR last summer. You know, persons would have been saying, you know, this stock is worth X amount. I won't state any prices here, but there are a lot of investors who were bullish on the company. And then I think we saw a high of, let me see what the high was for the last, it went up to 478. And since then, I think it's been kind of in between the, 350 to 450 range. It's kind of been picking up over the last month or so, from 399 January 20th to as high as 443. Okay. When is their report coming out? That's the wrong place I'm looking at. Thank you, David. I know I can just look at this. Does RJR have a report due? Really, Jamaica. Okay, it's due already. So we can expect to see something from them soon. Yeah. So it could be just an anticipation for that report. I'm not personally interested in RJR anymore. So it's not something that I've been looking at personally. These volumes look interesting. So, I mean, who knows? Let's wait and see what the report says. What I've been finding though, and this is something that I've noticed, when reports are near their release date, sometimes the appreciation of the stock goes up in anticipation of the report. So depending on when you buy, even if the report is good, you may not see any notable price increase because it would have been growing in anticipation of the report. So what am I saying here really? If you are expecting a company to perform well, you want to take a position at a good point in relation to when the report is expected to be released. And this is just my opinion. Persons may not agree, but what I notice is that at least a month before is when I'd say, so if the report is due February 14th, I'd be looking to see if there's an opportunity at least a month before. Because if you notice here, around this week, not much, and then about a month ago, you're starting to see more movement in terms of volume, right? So that to me says that if there are other investors thinking that this is going to be a good company to invest in, you may see more volume, more activity. More activity could mean a potential increase in price, right? So you don't want to wait until the week of the report coming out. I know some persons like to wait until the report is out to say, okay, maybe I can do a quick trade here. But you want to think about those positions carefully and think in advance So get the dates. I'm sure David has no problem sharing this in the Telegram group, or David, just reach out to David. David will share it. But you want to look, if you're interested in a company, find out the date of the report, do your analysis early, and you want to be strategic about that entry point, because if you enter after the report comes out, then your upside may be limited. That's my kind of quick tip there. All right. So let's see. So CPJ report came out this week as well, but you know what? I'll reserve my personal thoughts. Let us have a quick look. I'm gonna wrap up this video in about 4 minutes. All right. So CPJ went as high as 22.85, 25.99 actually in the last year. And so a lot of persons are still bullish on the company. But of course, you know, we like to be a little bit more conservative here. So, I mean, it's seen a lot of growth in the last year, right? This was, I think, the best performing company on the stock exchange last year. And so seeing how well it has done, it doesn't mean that you can't have a great year, but you just want to be careful and choose a good entry point based on just how much it has traded and how well it has traded, right? Similar to other companies that I won't name here. When a company has a lot of attention, my personal opinion is that I like to research and invest in companies that don't have the spotlight. So if I'm seeing it being talked about in groups, seeing it being talked about on social media, it's not that there won't be opportunity in that company, but personally, I'm going to find the opportunities nobody's talking about, because likely those are the companies that are going to be trending down in price. Then I can take a good position in that company. And then I guess when they're closer to when the report is due, when everybody's giving it all the attention, I can either take my profits at that point or just sit back knowing that I would have made a good decision previously. So I don't chase the news in terms of my investing. I like to stay on top of the news to ensure that what I would have assessed previously is still valid. But I'm not the type of person where the report comes out today, it's really good, I'm going to jump on it tomorrow because I think it's going to do well for a couple of days. That's not my style personally. So if you're looking for those kind of trading gems from me, I'm not the best person for that. Not that I don't trade, it's just that I kind of do mine a little bit over a longer period. So not same week, but maybe over a month or two. All right, so that's CPJ. Let's see. I mean, so this just kind of shows you how well it's done over the past 6 months. So if you're a shareholder as at August last year, then you're quite happy, right? We saw 31 million units traded on December 10th, and it's been, you know, consistently rising. I think there was some kind of, you know, definite profit taking at this point. But, you know, as I said, there are persons who think that it has a long way to go. There are persons who are still bullish on the company. Me personally, my expectation of the company is tempered because of just how much it has done. And I mean, it's I think, you know, I'd want to see how maybe the next few quarters go to see how well it can consistently perform. All right, let me see if there's anything from the chat that I can get to. I want to mention to you guys before I go, we have our upcoming class. So this is on March 5th. If you have not registered before, the link is in the description. Register for this class. We'll cover stock analysis using financial statements. So what you see us do in our stock review, we're going to do that live for you to see how it is done, how to do your own analysis. The class is completely free. We're not charging you $1 for it. You just show up, pay us your attention, and you can learn how to do the things that we do yourself, right? To make your own investment decisions. Also, I want to recommend that you subscribe to our newsletter. The link is in the description of this video. Join us on on Telegram, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of the platforms. I really want to thank you for your time and attention here today. Let me see if there's any questions that I would have missed. Guys, for any stock that I would have missed, just leave me a comment and I'll try to add it to the companies that I review for next week's video. So just leave me a comment below the video and I will try to just, look into it, see how it has been doing and comment on it next week. So really hope you guys have a good weekend. I will see you in the next video.